here in front of the Exchange Street parking plaza right off of Central Avenue downtown and Bathhouse Row, where you're going to hear the sounds of construction nearby because we have the first new construction in 40 years in the downtown area. And with me today is Lance Spicer, who serves as the Assistant City Manager, City Clerk for the City of Hot Springs. Welcome, Lance.
Thank you, Terry.
So we're going to be talking today about a parking authority for the City of Hot Springs. That's been a topic of discussion since way back in 1997. And so here we are today, closer to the reality of actually forming one. Is that correct?
That's correct, absolutely. With the development that you hear behind us and a lot of the activity that's been going on since Hot Springs, probably the last 4 or 5 years, with that activity brings a lot more visitors and a lot more people wanting to be in and around the downtown area. So one of those issues that comes up is obviously parking. And the board of directors adopted some 2-year goals to look at the possibility of forming a parking authority that can manage these parking assets, be they public or private. But it's obviously a first step in a little bit of a longer process to keep the things moving forward downtown.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's exciting to see all the new development, the new businesses opening, all of the energy that's building up in the downtown area. Of course, that heightens people's perception of parking and traffic issues, and everybody has a different opinion.
They do.
Yes, but the city's focus right now is to look at the creation of a parking authority. So let's talk about the structure. What would that look like?
Parking authority itself is actually, it's detailed in Arkansas statute, how to form one, the various creation of the authority, the powers that go with it. A parking authority is essentially made up of 5 citizen members. They serve with no compensation. They are 5-year terms, and essentially what their charge is to deal with parking in its entirety. So you're talking about from rates to be charged, leasing different facilities if that's the case, constructing parking facilities, and kind of the whole manner of parking, if you will. So it's really a thing where the board of directors authorizes this citizen committee to essentially take control of the parking in a specific area and use it to the best of their ability.
So when you talk about taking control of the parking in the downtown area, that means that they have a pretty broad authority to do so?
That's correct. Parking authorities by state statute, they have relatively broad authority, but it's very much focused on parking specific powers. So they have the powers that the board of directors authorize them to have. So that 5-member commission is definitely a very important part of the process.
Well, big picture wise, Lance, what are we talking about as far as the availability or a number of public parking spaces downtown? You know, what are we looking at that the parking authority would be addressing?
Really, a handful of things were brought up throughout a few parking and pedestrian bicycle studies. So basically, our downtown development plan itself highlighted there's about 1,000 parking spaces in the downtown area, but the issues that come up are the accessibility of them and the visibility. So those are really going to be 2 of the key components to ensure that whether you're a citizen or a visitor, that you're able to locate the parking lots that surround us and be able to access them as well. So that's going to be one of the large charges.
Now that's where wayfinding comes into place. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. Our downtown is, we're very unique. We have a state highway that runs through the middle. We also have a federal national park on one side and a city on the other. So obviously within that there are various signage components that are not always lockstep with each other. So what a wayfinding signage program would do is bring a little bit of a cohesive manner to that signage. So whether you're a long-time visitor, first-time visitor, it's a little bit more intuitive of how you find parking and move around the city.
When people talk about finding parking, they often include the parking. I mean, this is kind of ground zero for downtown parking, the Exchange Street parking plaza behind us, Lance. What does it offer in terms of parking spaces?
The Exchange Street parking plaza it has 245 spaces. So that makes it the largest parking structure in our downtown area. And on top of the 245 spaces, there are also about 350 spaces along Central Avenue and at the Exchange Street parking plaza. So the remainder of those are private lots that are immediately adjacent to Central Avenue. So I think there's a good bit of parking, but the issue has always been and will continue to be the access and the visibility of the parking.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, some people have found the parking plaza here because on a typical working day and on the weekends, it's pretty full, isn't it?
It is. The Exchange Street Plaza, the parking deck itself, it's used for different types of community events. So people have really come to know it as the place to be if you're looking for parking, but also from various events and festivals that happen in downtown Hot Springs. So it's definitely a well-used facility, and I continue to see it doing so and moving forward.
Yes. What would we do without it? So looking forward, what do you see as the next steps?
That's a good point, Terry. As we move forward, really what we're doing now is the outreach to those that are involved, not only the stakeholders in downtown and the private lot owners, but also we want to hear from the citizens, because parking is something that impacts everyone. And obviously, it's been an issue that's been discussed for many, many years. But what our board of directors have asked us to do is to go out and do public outreach to those folks, those stakeholders and citizens alike, and determine what do they see as the parking issue, if forming a parking authority is something that they can see being beneficial. So really, that's where we're at now. We're in the listening mode. The topic itself's been discussed and studied quite extensively. So really, what we're looking at now is determining if it's something that's viable and something that the public in general would like to see.
Well, obviously, as we wrap up this discussion, which hopefully people now have a little bit better idea of what a parking authority would look like, we have valuable parking assets downtown, perhaps more than some folks realize when you add up all the numbers. But it's all about how to manage it and how to educate the public in accessing it, right?
Absolutely. A parking authority in itself will not solve all your issues. Really what a parking authority is, it's a management model to use those assets as best as they can be used.
Is there any final comments that you'd like to make about this topic?
Really, we would just like to extend a outreach to those folks that are interested in parking in itself, visitors to the downtown and others that are involved, just to reach out to myself at the City of Hot Springs, and we'd really like to hear from you.
Well, what would be a phone number if they want to give you their comments?
Yeah, my office number is 501-321-6815. I look forward to hearing from you.
Well, thanks, Lance. So as you can see, in the coming year, the city will be looking for your opinions, your ideas on how best to manage the assets of parking that we have in our downtown area, the hub of Hot Springs, and we look forward to everything that you have to contribute to the discussion. Next week, we'll bring you more city news.